Taharka Bay, Toronto. He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson. I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson. And anybody who's riding with him with this scandal with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
Check it.
I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with Daweed Ali and them and Taj and them used to come to Chicago.
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. Sleepwalking, they keep talking. I probably catch a charge and I don't care what any say. Yeah, I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik ain't seen a man I can't beat. Only the gods is my equal. You mortals, you just my sequel. You just my sequel. What the 85ers? Dip divers? Trying to symbolize us? You already dead. Who done got up in your head? Rent free. You wanna know who sent me? Who sent you? Leg, head. I tried to pull you out the bed, but you got up all groggy. Started talking real crazy, eyes foggy. Couldn't see through the fog. Then I had to bring the dogs, barking all up in your ear, acting like you don't care. Oh, you don't care? Like you don't preserve life. Oh yeah, you ready? And you really don't care, right? Oh, you don't care, right? Well, we gon' really check that, bet that, respect that. Since you said you ain't scared to die. I laid them young boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. I laid them old boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I'm the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. I laid them young boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I would take you on any day. Michigan, New York, Cali, where you at? What you thought? From Naptown to Baltimore, every vulnerable is all raw. They ready, choppers. I don't really think you want the problem. Hold up, wake the thought up. Back to a law, leg, head. I try to get him out the bed. Sleepwalking anyway. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up, keep talking. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up. I don't care what any say. Nobody. I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. Never. You mortals, you just my sequel. You mortals, you just my sequel. Only equals is the gods. You mortals, that's my sequel.
He says Taharka Bay,
I see.
Toronto
I
Johnson.
see dead people. Hey.
I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson.
I see
And anybody
dead
who's riding
people.
with him with this
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway.
fraud the people. I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with
I
Daweed
laid them
Ali.
young boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. Hey, people's grand sheik. I ain't never met a man that I can't beat. Oh,
He says Taharka
the
Bay,
gods is my only equal.
Toronto Johnson.
You mortals, you just my sequel. That's it.
I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson. And anybody who's riding with him with this scandal or with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. I be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number.
the Moors, then you's a friend of mine. I was told to watch my enemies, now hold my line. Those that speak against the prophet, they speak against me. And I'm speaking about the prophet over Drew Ali, who was the first to remind you and bind you back to Morocco, the mountains, Mississippi, and Quebec. Told you you wasn't black, proved it with straight facts. You tripping off trucks, you need to be tripping off that. Now here we go again, acting like you a slave. The same people talk European how to bathe. And look at that women buying European hair. No love for self, but do the men really care? Hell no, cause they got a love for Europe. Whole generation chasing pills, weed and syrup. Yeah, they love Lil Yachty, Tucci, Gucci, Kodak, Amigos, Ross, Lucid. But where the love for the woman look like your mother, I guess they say it's all black when it's under the cover. Now cypher, I'll be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. I'll be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. All you super scholars holler, this era for the workers. You ain't building on the ground, then you worse than a twerker. You look and sound good, but that's only on the surface. Probably working for the people. Now tell me what's your purpose. Ain't worried about your homie, but know that I know every mo that rock a fast. He ain't my bro. Yeah, you know I ain't slow. I seen it all before. How they try to kill the prophet, it was all for dough. And some got it right now. Don't say that I'm not down. I'm coming for my vast estate. I want my town, my sheriff, my stores, my school, my nation. Sick and tired of the procrastination.
Check one, two, check one, two, check one, two, check one, two.
Hate when love is the savior.
Big Brother's in the building.
Yourself, so you can't love your neighbor. That's why you killing, fighting, marry out of your race. If you ain't for Moorish, bro, then get out of my face. Cause Chinese love China, Italians love Italy.
We got
if you used to love the Moorish, bro, come on and build it. I gotta run it back. I'll be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, that's right. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. I'll be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember, oh yeah. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Be more. I'll be that more you gon' remember. That.
Family, I gotta run this back. I gotta run my first song back. We got a guest on here tonight. We got a guest on here tonight. Let me share with you real quick. I'm gonna try to share with you real quick. Y'all go ahead. Hey, I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you here. Give me a minute. Olivia Bronx. Appreciate you. Olivia Bronx says it's been a while since I caught a live, and I haven't been on the website, but I'm here tonight for sure. Gunshot. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Yasmin. Hey, man, listen. I want to welcome y'all to another edition of Moorish World TV, but let me tell y'all something. Man, indulge me for a minute, man. Y'all be rushing me all the time. Why you always late? Look in the mirror, look at me, and look at you. We don't do things by time all the time, because time never was. That's an old Moorish saying. Time never was when man was not. Y'all always worrying about time. That's an excuse so we can be late sometimes. Let me indulge me. We got a special guest on here tonight, family. We got Minister Paul on here tonight. If y'all don't know who Minister Paul is, you must have been under a rock. Give me a minute. I'm going to share with you a little something about who Minister Paul is. I mean, this ain't Minister Paul from the Bible. This ain't Minister Paul from Rome. This is Minister Paul from our home. So stop playing. Don't think we're going to turn this on and you're going to see Paul that was running on down Damascus. They ain't who we talking about, okay? You got to be in your books to understand that one, all right? This is where's the brother from 3-6? What's that guy name? We want him on the show. Anybody know him? The brother from 3-6? Remember that, Paul? DJ Paul? We gonna get him on. We have a whole bunch of Pauls on the show. We gonna turn up, man. we gonna turn up. But let me share with you one thing real quick. Give you a little insight. I'm gonna try to do this without them clipping me. But let me see if I can do it real quick. Show you who we talking about.
For Sean. A North Carolina minister has kicked off a campaign to ban white people from the hip-hop industry. His national emancipation crusade aims to free the black community from what he calls hip-hop slavery. Joining us now is the minister of the Messianic African Nation, Reverend Paul Scott. Reverend Scott, good evening.
Thank you for having me.
I've read your comments that say that since most white teenagers are the ones who purchase hip hop, and most of the entertainment executives in this genre are white, it's us white people who are responsible for the current messed up condition of hip hop. Why aren't black artists the ones who are writing these despicable lyrics and the ones making their millions? Why aren't they the ones responsible for the condition of hip hop?
It's easy to blame the 50 Cents and the Jay-Z's for the condition of hip hop, but in reality, it is the white devils who are the record owners, the mega corporation owners, are the ones responsible for bringing hip hop hell on earth. So that's who we need to point the finger at.
So why didn't the black artists reject those white devils?
Malcolm X once said, when you have a cup of coffee that's too black and too strong, and you mix it with cream or milk, it makes it weak. What used to wake you up puts you to sleep. These white corporate devils have put our black artists to sleep, and it's time to wake them up.
I just wonder if you would be outraged if somebody put together a crusade to, I don't know, rid country music of black artists like Charlie Pride. I mean, wouldn't you be wouldn't you be indignant if somebody suggested segregating rock and roll or country or jazz?
No, I wouldn't, because what you have happening in hip hop is these white corporations that have turned the music that was supposed to uplift the black community into money making and booty shaking.
Oh, come on.
This is directly at the hands of white corporations.
White corporate people
who killed the positive rap and put this negative rap in its place.
These are moguls, Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or whatever. I mean, these guys, Sean Puffy Combs, these are huge conglomerates, and they're very grateful for the white customer, aren't they?
They may be grateful, but unfortunately, many of our black rappers and executives are being used as political pawns or pawns in the game.
And Mr. Scott, it's
in actuality,
isn't banning white people from an entire genre of music racism?
You can't accuse black people of being racist.
You can't be racist if you're black?
No, because we don't have the economic ability to deprive anyone of anything. Racism means you have an ability to deprive the next person to life.
Well, yeah, you've got moguls, as Mike mentioned, like Russell Simmons and Puff Daddy, who are moguls. They could certainly work to deprive whites or not hire whites, so that's not true.
If you put Russell Simmons and Puff Daddy and Suge Knight together, they still wouldn't have the money of Interscope and Jimmy Iovine, who are really controlling hip hop.
Isn't it a cop out to say that because you're black, you can't be a racist? You can hate whites just as much as there are some, unfortunately, whites who hate blacks. And it's a cop out to say, but I'm black, I'm not part of the power structure, therefore I can't be a racist. That's a cop out.
Racism is an economic reality, not just the way you feel. I don't have the power to affect your life in any way, so I can't be racist.
Yeah, there are crimes committed against people of all races because there's a lot of hate against people of all races. There are hate crimes. That hate crime is not always about economics. If you commit a hate crime against somebody because of their skin color, it doesn't matter what economic you group in if you're committing a crime against somebody. Hate is hate regardless of what race it comes from.
For every hate crime that
let's hear from our brother in a minute. Hold up.
People have committed against black people.
How do you propose to ban an entire race of people from an entire genre of music?
I'm appealing to the Oprah Winfrey's, the Bill Cosby's, the Spike Lee's, anyone who has a problem with the condition of hip hop, come together.
I want y'all to go into subscribe to I think this is my brother channel. Yes, right. Minister Paul. Go subscribe to the channel. Check out the rest of the video. I'm going to put the link in here as the show goes on. So family, you know we in for a serious talk tonight, right? Huh? We got a real one tonight. We got a real one tonight. And because we gonna be talking about hip hop, I got to bring in my intro one more again. I love it.
He says he's Taharka Bay.
He say he's Taharka Bay.
Toronto Johnson.
Toronto Johnson.
I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson. And anybody who's riding with him with this scandal with these videos of me and my wife defrauding the people.
Check it.
I never saw my brothers and sisters sign these videos when I was with Daweed Ali and them and Taj and them used to come to Chicago.
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. Sleepwalking. They keep talking. I probably catch a charge and I don't care what any say. Yeah, I'm the people's grand chief, and the people's grand chief ain't seen a man I can't beat. Only the gods is my equal. You mortal, you just my sequel.
Let me tell you what that means. When I say you mortals, you just my sequel. If you thinking like a mortal, you're going to come behind my mortal self. But you can never compete with my God self. I want you to let that marinate a little bit. Which means you're only going to do base earthly things as a mortal. You're just the sequel. Only thing you're going to do is basic stuff. You mortals, you just my sequel. You are the sequel to my earthly stuff. The gods is my only equal. So if you think like a god, you my equal.
You just my sequel. What the 85ers? Dip divers? Trying to symbolize us? You already dead. Who done got up in your head? Rent free. You wanna know who sent me? Who sent you? Leg, head. I tried to pull you out the bed, but you got up all groggy. Started talking real crazy, eyes foggy. Couldn't see through the fog. Then I had to bring the dogs, barking all up in your ear, acting like you don't care. Oh, you don't care? Like you don't preserve life. Oh yeah, and you really don't care, right? Oh, you don't care, right? Well, we gon' really check that, bet that, respect that. Since you said you ain't scared to die. I lay them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. I lay them old boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I'm the people's grand chief. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. I lay them young boys to rest.
Let's go, fam.
They was sleepwalking anyway. I would take you on any day. Michigan, New York, Cali, where you at? What you thought? From that town to Baltimore, every Baltimore is all raw. They ready, choppers. I don't really think you want the problem. Hold up, wake the thought up. Back to a law.
You hear what I say? We ready. I don't really think you want them problems. Hold up. Raise the thought up. Back to a law. Whenever you think about going crazy on a lower vibration, catch yourself and raise it back up. Raise it back up. See, if you really listen to the lyrics of this song, it's really venting. But it's going between the low and the high, responding from the low, catching yourself, rising back to the high. We demonstrating the Jacob's ladder in this song. We're going ascending and descending, ascending and descending. I'm gonna just let this ride out. Then we're gonna get busy with my bro in a minute. I love this song, man. You gotta really listen to it. You gotta really listen to it.
Leg, head. I try to get up off the bed. Sleepwalking anyway. Sleepwalking anyway.
I'm gonna put it out soon. Let it rock. So I got a few things I want to announce real quick before I bring my bro in. First, I want to thank him for joining us, family. I got a few things I want to announce, family. I'm going to tell you. I got my brother, Angel Snupnup. I'm going to try to have him here Saturday. And one of the things that he wants to talk about, and I can't wait for the conversation. One of the things that he wants to talk about is alien spaceships, motherships within the Nation of Islam and within our community of thought. And I always say that we should be able to have conversations without being disrespectful. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we be respectful as we look into that conversation and dialogue with that conversation. So we're going to be talking about that with Angel Snupnup. Now, you know that's going to be a good conversation because Angel Snupnup is something out here, piece of work. But that's my brother. We're going to call our show Crazy and Criminal. since you know, the brother say I'm a lifetime criminal. Like I was a member at the Sam's Club or something. He's a lifetime member. He said, Ali Muhammad said he's a lifetime criminal. So we're going to call our show Crazy and Criminal. He was in a sane asylum and I've been a criminal. Or I am a lifetime criminal. So we're going to call it Crazy and Criminal. With that being said, last but not least, which is really important, really, really important, family. I need y'all to share this once this show goes up. On Sunday, definitely, family, I'm going to give you, for the first time, I'm going to give you some uncut updates on Mr. Ortho Wallace, better known as Ozone. I'm going to give you updates that, unfortunately, I don't think anybody else is qualified to bring them with integrity like I plan to do. And what I mean is, I would not touch this story in the beginning because it's such a serious situation. And I felt as though that no YouTuber that loved their brother should be projecting, analyzing, and assessing this as the Europeans do on Fox News. I feel as though that they should fall back. They should have fallen back. Now they're falling back now because it's not a hot story in the news right now. But when it comes back up and he have his day, I would advise all YouTubers to fall back. Stop giving your interpretation of what happened. He has attorney. He has a paid attorney now. He needs more finance so he can complete the payment of the attorney. But if you have a concern for your brother and you are a YouTuber, fall back. Nobody needs your interpretation. Nobody needs your take on what actually happened. Let his attorney handle that. Sometimes we give the European too much credit, too much information, and sometimes we just talk too much. Sometimes we just talk too much. We be just making up all sorts of scenarios. And while you making up all these scenarios, Mr. Charlie, he be sitting right there. Okay, we'll make sure we cover this. We'll make sure we cover that. We'll make sure we cover this. We'll make sure we cover that. And you just steady talking. But this ain't going to be that type of show. We're going to give you real up-to-the-minute updates as to what is going on with our brother. We won't be interpreting any elements of the case whatsoever. And hopefully you all will show your support now that they have put things in place that can be trusted. So with that being said, family, that's something that's close to me because, you know, the brother has been on the show quite a few times. And, you know, and no matter what, we used to have some heated conversations, but we are under occupation. We have been traumatized, and there is no way that we should stand idly by and allow a brother or sister not have a fair trial due to the lack of finance. Because normally you don't have a fair trial in our community because of your economic standing. So if you can be of assistance, let's see how it goes. And I see y'all on Sunday with that. But now, the man of the hour, Minister Paul Scott. Minister Paul Scott. Now, we watched the video that was on YouTube with Fox News. Brother, can you give us a quick summary of yourself and who you are, of yourself, but not only who yourself, where you're from, which they mentioned on Fox News, so you can reiterate, and just give us a little bit about yourself. You've been on, you called in before, and I invited you on the show. I'm glad I sent you sent me an email, brother. I sent you an email back, but it was a draft. It didn't go. I looked at it today like, why is a draft? I've been responded, but I didn't press send. My apology for that. So with that being said, my brother, tell us a little bit about yourself.
We say all praises be to the Creator, all power to his people. In the name of Yahshua, the Black Revolutionary Messiah, I greet you, my brothers and sisters, in the spirit of truth and the words of peace. Shalom Aleichem. Giving a special salute to the Black Messiahs. Our motto is stop waiting for a Savior and be one. Stop waiting for a Savior and be one.
Come on, let's go.
Honored to be with you, Grand Sheik. Honored to be on your program. I'm a fan of yours. Watch regularly. To keep in tune what's going on in these YouTube conscious streets.
That's right.
With me, I'm founder of the Black Messiah movement. And again, our motto is stop waiting for a Savior and be one. Everybody's waiting for something. People waiting for Martin Luther King. People wait for Malcolm X. People wait for Biggie to come back. People waiting for Tupac to come back. People wait for somebody to come down out the sky. But our motto is stop waiting for a Savior and be one, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. So, as
Minister
far as
Paul, can I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
Brother, I'm actually waiting for Tupac. You got to stop that. He in the desert somewhere. He be back, but go ahead, my apology.
Yes, sir. But everybody's waiting on something. So we say stop waiting for a Savior and be one. Nobody's going to save us but us by the will of the Most High. Now, as far as who I am, I'm just a soldier. I'm just your brother. And we say soul in soldier stands for struggling only until liberation. The soul in soldier stands for struggling only until liberation. So I'm just a soldier in this army against the core of negativity. Brother Steve Coakley taught us we are in a constant battle against the core of negativity. And tonight, Grand Sheik, I hope you don't get taken off and banned and canceled. We're going to go into the core of negativity because things that have gotten too far gone, Grand Sheik. We look at I'm in Durham, North Carolina. And every night, Black men are being murdered. It's the same in Chicago. It's the same in New York. But we don't get to the core of negativity, so we keep going around in circles. But tonight, we might as well reveal it all. We're going into Black History Month next week, for better or worse. For better or worse. So we might as well reveal the whole thing tonight, brothers and sisters. What really happened to hip-hop? Who stole it, where it came from, who took it? And more importantly, how we going to get it back, Grand Sheik?
And let me add to that. Is there and my thought, which I added to it because of the platform in which I stand on, does it have any connection to the conscious community? And let me tell you why I say that. Whoever stole hip hop, does it have any connection to the conscious community? The reason why I say that is because hip hop started as a conscious effort for all intents and purposes. And now you see the conscious community has turned into like gangster hip hop. Let me give you an example. Right now, if you go anywhere, you will find that those that have portrayed themselves to be conscious, they stalk people, children, they stalk people, families, and I mean, because they disagree with a philosophy that one puts, or one calls somebody out on their egregious acts, instead of proving them egregious acts wrong, then they even talk about killing you, all that type of stuff. And so it reminds me of hip hop. When hip hop started off, you know what I mean? Broken glass everywhere. People standing on the corner like they just don't care. That was everywhere in America. You know what I'm saying? That was everywhere in America. And we get from broken glass everywhere, don't push because I'm close to the edge. And now I ain't a killer, don't push me. And then after that, we get to I put your brains on the street. You know what I'm saying? We get from the Queen Latifahs, the Moni Loves, ooh, ladies first, and now we got to the what's a Mega Stallion and Cardi B's and the same thing with the conscious community. You look at some of the sisters, Francis Scott Wells and other sisters. But if you look close in the conscious community, which I don't want to name no sisters, they even have gone to the left as it relates to, I guess, promiscuous type behavior that's not becoming of being conscious. I'll say it like that. You feel what I'm saying? And so first I wanted to ask you, is there a connection to this? Because now what we call the conscious community, bro, it reminds me of how hip hop has went from enlightening to darkness.
Yes, sir. And that's an excellent question. Just a little bit getting back to my background. I've written about hip hop for the last 20 years. I've written articles in the Final Call about hip hop. Written for various websites like allhiphop.com. Shout out to E-Dogs, because E-Dogs, I saw him in the chat. He's one of the ones who got me plugged into all hip hop. So, but let's go back to the history. Let's go back to the history of hip hop. It didn't really always was positive. If you look back at the days of the ski this and ski that, when everybody's last name was Ski in the early 80s, they were talking about snow, which was a analogy for cocaine. There was heavy drug use, talking about getting high off of heavy drugs in the early 90s, late 70s, early 90s. So it wasn't always positive. It wasn't always conscious. The consciousness didn't really come in until the.
Could you elaborate on one of the songs that they would talk about cocaine?
Actually, if you read Grandmaster Flash's autobiography.
No, I'm not saying they didn't lose drugs.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is there a song that we can reference?
Yeah. I mean, but if you look at Grandmaster Flash's biography, I believe in that book it says when they made White Lines, which is against drugs, they were actually hired.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm talking about the songs.
Yeah.
But the name of the rappers back then ending with Ski, that was actually a reference to cocaine. But if you're talking about the early songs, we're talking about before it got on the radio. We're talking about the party songs. Go back and watch the movie Wild Style, and you'll see a glimpse of what I'm talking about. Wild Style is perhaps the first hip hop movie, and you see heavy drug references in some of the songs.
The only thing I'm saying is, Minister Paul, is that, when we look at the lyrical content, you know what I'm saying? Because we always been a type of people that had our dark past. We always been a type of people that had our hidden activities. But when you look at early hip hop, you don't see a lot of the blatant conversation that we see today.
Right. I mean, yes, sir. It wasn't as blatant as it is today, but it was there. If you go back and look at Wild Style, you see a lot of reference to Blow. You see a lot of reference to Chiba. You see a lot of reference to getting high. But like you said, Grand Sheik, it wasn't commercial. It wasn't mainstream. Now, hip hop had a few conscious glimpses in the early 80s. A brother named Brother D, and he had a group which around 1980, 85. You had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five with The Message in the early 80s. You had Bambaataa in them doing Renegades of Funk and things of that nature in the early 80s. You had Run DMC did some conscious stuff. But when we start talking about the early age, the golden age of hip hop, the conscious age of hip hop, you're only talking about 4 years, Grand Sheik. You're talking about the years between 1988 and 1992. And we're going to go into why that is, why it stopped in 1992. But you're talking about with the coming of the second Public Enemy album, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. You're talking about at the same time, 88. You're talking about Boogie Down Productions and their Stop the Violence movement. You're talking about later on, 89, you're talking about the coming of X-Clan, Brand Nubian. So it was only 4 years. People try to pretend that this golden age of hip-hop was all positive, but it was really only on the pro-black tip for 4 years.
Yeah, I think what people are referring to is that when hip-hop first started, it painted a picture of the reality in which people lived in, and they infused it with solutions, as opposed to today. And I think that's what they're calling conscious. I don't think we're calling it conscious as blackity black, as Chris Rock was talking about. I think what they're calling it, that it had a message that this is what we're living in, and here is our response to that when they're painting a picture. But today, hip hop is just aimlessly just talking about anything and everything. But when you're talking about the so-called black conscious hip hop, now that's different from the message of the beginning of hip hop. I think that's where the lines become blurred, that you're talking about conscious, but they're really talking about when hip hop had a message. And then the conscious era, what you're talking about, when hip hop had a message and they infused it with deep consciousness as it relates to us as a people and identity.
I have a theory, Grand Chief, that one of the reasons why that era isn't talked about, I think they did away with a whole genre of music just to prevent the Nation of Islam's teachings from reaching the mainstream.
Right.
I think that's the underlying current why people don't even talk about that era, because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, he's been basically blacklisted or whitelisted. So in order not to talk about that his influence, the influence of A Message to the Black Man and all these other works, they just don't talk about that era at all. Also, we have to remember, and you talked about the correlation between that and the Black conscious community. J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, he said he wanted to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah. So that could be hip hop, that could be education, that could be your religious institution, that could be the conscious community, so-called conscious community. Anything to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah, they will and did do. We're not even talking about just the FBI. We're talking about the FBI. We're talking about the CIA. And what a lot of people don't talk about, we're talking about the State Department. The State Department. People don't want to talk about the role that the State Department had in prevent the rise of a Black Messiah. Not only the State Department, because it was the State Department that went after Paul Robeson. It was the State Department that had Lumumba set up. Go ahead, brother.
When you said the State Department, for those that don't know, what are you referring to? What part of the government are you referring to? That national, local? What are you talking? What are you referring to?
Yes, sir. The State Department dealt with international, how America looks to the outside, how they look to other countries. They even recruited the Harlem Globetrotters. Yes, sir. Read the autobiography. Read the biography of the Harlem Globetrotters. They even recruited the Harlem Globetrotters to spread popular propaganda about the United States across the world. That's in the books about the Harlem Globetrotters. So you have all these entities. Not everybody wants to focus on the FBI and COINTELPRO, but everybody was involved. Everybody was involved. I said the State Department, the Army intelligence. People don't talk about Army intelligence. What role did Army intelligence play in the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King? Everybody wants to point at J. Edgar Hoover because that's the people. They want to point to him as the boogeyman, but it was also Army intelligence who spied on Black people, who tried to even recruit W.E.B. Du Bois back in the early 19th century to be part of Army intelligence that spied on the NAACP. And that's documented. Shout out to Brother Steve Coakley for bringing that information to the mass.
Did the boy take the opportunity to spy for the people?
according to the research, and we're talking about, there is a paper that you can probably pull up in the Memphis Commercial Appeal that was put out back in 1986, I believe. But yeah, you can still find that in the archives. That's one thing that Du Bois didn't do. Did he help destroy Garvey's movement in his early years? Because, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent and get off the subject.
Oh, you all right? We got time, brother. Come on.
But Du Bois lived till he was in his 90s. So he went through 3 phases. On one phase, he was tied in with the Boule. And we'll go into what that means. If you know, I'm sure most of your listeners already know, what viewers already know, because this is Moorish World TV, the most intelligent.
Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that. We need a TikTok. Minister Paul said it.
Most intelligent viewers on the internet. Now, but yeah, Du Bois, he went through 3 phases in his life. So yeah, but was he recruited by Army intelligence? No, not to my research. Did he help destroy Garvey with his whisper campaign? Of course, and that's documented. Mm-hmm. But to get back to what we're talking about, the correlation between hip hop and the conscious community, anything and everything at their disposal to destroy the rise of a Black Messiah, they have done, they will do, and they continue to do. So tonight, I got about 10 books, 20 books, and we can go through the information. We can go through it. So, because a lot of times, this is what happens, Grand Sheik. A lot of these scholars, National Security Council, exactly. See, I told y'all had the most intelligent audience on the internet. See, a lot of people, they just put out something they Google. Tonight, we're bringing the books. So you go back and read these books, and it will document everything I said. And we're going to, and like I said, Grand Sheik, I hope you don't get canceled, because we're going to name the names tonight.
Name them.
Names tonight.
Let me tell you one thing about Moorish World TV, man. Listen, we're going to tell the truth. And if the truth happens to have us to address those who are against the truth, then we deal with that when we deal with it. Mm-hmm. But we're going to tell the truth. And also, family, before my brothers start, again, I want to remind y'all, I want to keep reminding y'all, because I want to keep this on the top of your mind, that on Sunday, we'll be talking about updates of ozone. On Saturday, I'm going to try to have my brother Angel Snupnup here. And we're going to be talking about NOI and the teachings that most likely Angel Snupnup probably have a problem with nowadays, but he was a former member of the NOI. But we're going to have a respectable conversation about the mothership, and I think he had another list of bullet points he wanted to talk about. So it's going to be a beautiful conversation. One thing I want to try to promote here is that we can have a controversial conversation, but we need to walk away respectfully and honorably as brothers, sisters, and friends. That'll be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it? If we could just have a conversation. You can say anything you want about the Moorish Science Temple of America with respect to have some concrete evidence, or at least genuine inquiry, and I just respond respectfully and honorably. You don't cuss me out, I don't cuss you out. And I see Minister Paul, he mentioned the Nation of Islam. He may be even qualified to come on the panel and answer some of your questions and dialogue with you. And so if Moorish World TV can lead the charge of having critical conversations that influence critical thinking, and we can all walk away and be friends, brothers, and sisters at the end, we have accomplished something, because now we can send that information through the DNA, through the next generation, and we can dialogue and get somewhere without somebody end up hurt, dead, or even botched before their community, as they call it, being doxxed. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, Minister Paul.
Yes, sir. And we were talking about the conscious era. Now, a lot of people ask, what happened to the conscious era? Again, one of my theories is they did not want the teachings of the Nation of Islam to reach the mainstream, because at that time, Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, was very controversial. That was right after his, now I can't say the word because you'll get kicked off for sure. That remark he made, allegedly made in New York. I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want
Is it the remark that he made about the European Jews?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I got you.
Also during that time, you had Professor Griff. Professor Griff was interviewed by someone, I think his name was David Mills. David Mills, who went on to be a Hollywood writer. I think that was the brother's name, David Mills. Loosely, I'm calling him a brother, but those who know. Now, Griff quoted Steve Coakley. Griff quoted Steve Coakley. We're talking about 88, 89. In a article that was interview that was never supposed to be made public, from what I understand, which got Griff kicked out of Public Enemy. But it also got the powers that be looking at hip hop, because like we were saying, up until then, you had the Juice Crew, and as much respect as we give them for the music, they weren't a threat to white supremacy. Even Kane, they talk about Kane being conscious, but he wasn't really putting out that anti-white supremacy message. So it wasn't until Public Enemy, X-Clan, KRS, to a degree, and others started coming out, they were really a threat to white supremacy. Now,
hey, brother, can I interject for 1 second? Brother, you be coming for my good people, man. I don't like to admit that Kane was skinning and grinning with Madonna. I don't like to do that. I don't want to relive that. You got to stop this, Minister Paul's guy.
No, I mean, I respect Kane. I
heard it, but he was skinning and grinning.
Hey,
and as you say, he wasn't a threat.
A lot of them were. But what I'm saying is,
being Asiatic.
Yeah, I mean, but it depends. See, at that time, you had people who were making good music, but just because you made good music doesn't mean your music was a threat to white supremacy. Not taking anything away from them, but it's two different things. So when you're a threat to white supremacy, that's when your passport starts getting taken. That's when your record career is being destroyed. That's when it comes to Public Enemy and other ones that they start putting the JDL, the Jewish Defense League, comes after you and puts snipers on the roof and tries to assassinate you. You know when you're a threat. Now, why did it change? This book, The Big Payback, by Dan Charnas. It's a must read because we're pulling the receipts tonight. It talked about how in the era of the Sugar Hill Gang, after that, hip hop went from New York and started spreading across the country up until the Rapper's Delight. And you can say Fatback Band, King Tim III, you can say that, make that argument. But as far as being really called hip hop, we're talking about the Sugar Hill Gang. But this book, The Big Payback, talks about during the early 80s, how it began to be infiltrated by white America. It was no longer the party tapes. It became infiltrated by white America. So when you get into the conscious era, you already say, even though they're making black music, it's being owned, but they're answering to these record labels. This was before streaming. This was before anything, YouTube. So they had to depend on these record labels to put their music out. So when Griff said what he allegedly said to David Mills, it went like wildfire because they already wanted to get rid of conscious hip hop, and they used Griff as a scapegoat. From then it went downhill. You see a lot of rappers being attacked. Even Ice-T, who was conscious at the time. Now, Ice-T was one of the only rappers who stood up for Public Enemy. I got to give the brother credit. Even though he was doing the gangster thing, even though he went on to be a cop on New York Undercover, and now all he plays is cops, we can't discredit Ice-T because he's one of the only ones who stood up for Professor Griff and Public Enemy publicly. Others might have done it privately, but Ice-T was one of the only ones who stood up for Public Enemy publicly. Now, that's probably why Ice-T was attacked later on. We're talking about early 90s when he put out Cop Killer, which wasn't even a hip hop record. And he wound up having to pull the record based on heat from, I think it was Warner Brothers. So when we're talking about this It gets deep, brother. And the main thing I want to show and prove here tonight, that none of this that we're seeing in hip hop today is by accident.
Brother, I hope y'all don't judge me, but I like Kodak Black. I like the Gremlin.
He has a few conscious songs.
I like Kodak Black.
But he has a few conscious songs, brother.
I like these new young guys. You know why I like these new young guys, Mr. Paul, but I still want you to really break this thing down. You know, I like these little young guys, the Baby, Lil Baby, Kodak, my brother Doug, all these little, they raw now. They raw. But I see if that is turned into that fighting of the opposition, that we will have some strong soldiers.
And the enemy knows that. Go ahead, brother.
Because these young brothers are so witty. Lyrically, their brain is like a machine. And yeah. And somebody say Sauce Walker out of Texas. I mean, these brothers, they are so witty. It just blows my mind away when I hear them. And people in our generation will cancel them. But to your point, how did this great talent and wittiness was put to the task to paint the picture of the grim reality with no solution on the back end? Because that's what we're looking at.
Well, you have the coming of a white Jewish dude named Jerry Heller. Jerry Heller got with Eazy-E and some other brothers out of California and formed NWA. Now, a lot of people talk about Ice Cube, they talk about Eazy-E, they talk about Dre, they talk about Yella, but they don't put Jerry Heller and the rest of them in the conversation. Now, let me read something that people don't talk about. This book, Ruthless, by Jerry Heller. Ruthless by Jerry Heller. Let me tell you what nobody ever talks about. I'm going to reveal it tonight. In his book, when he starts talking about his connection to gangster rap, this is what he wrote. This ain't something I'm making up. If you turn to page 71 in his biography, let me slow down. He says, I never met a conspiracy theory I didn't like. Did the dark forces behind gemstone theory utilize the talents of Lucky Luciano, Aristotle Onassis, and Howard Hughes to flood America with French Connection heroin after the Second World War? I believe it could have happened that way. Likewise, listen, did the U.S. government import the cocaine that eventually wound up in the base pipes of South Central? Was it all engineered by the CIA, the government agency, not the band? Was it part of an elaborate plan to fund the anti-Sandinista insurgency in Nicaragua? Or maybe something darker, a plot to destroy the inner city community? Now I want everybody to listen real close. This is Jerry Heller's own words, but they don't think we read. This sounds well within the realm of reason to me. I've lived through McCarthyism, Watergate, Iran-Contra, and the fantasy of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Nothing the United States government does can surprise me. But listen, if the conspiracy theory holds true, then we can follow a tortuous path from the Central Intelligence Agency to the crack epidemic in South Central and arrive at Ruthless Records. Eazy-E and I were just pawns of CIA machinations too vast to contemplate.
Hold up now, brother.
I said it, brother.
That last line, what is Jerry Heller actually saying in plain, ghetto, filtered English because I needed basic, and then we can raise it back up.
He
What is
said,
he saying?
he said if all these conspiracy theories were true to destroy the black community, him and Eazy-E were part of the conspiracy.
Woo! And that's how I like. And that's how I like my soup.
Ruthless by Jerry Heller, page 71. Read it
That's
for
how
yourself.
I like my soup. I don't like my soup cold. I like it hot.
Nobody talks about that.
So Jerry Heller literally admitting that he was a part of the shifting or the changing of the guards as it relates to entertainment in our community.
It's deeper than that, brother. He said if those other, nothing the United States government did surprises him. If all these other examples he gave were true, then him and Eazy-E were part of that. That's what he said. He wrote it. I didn't write it.
Brother, what happened to Eazy-E? Sidebar. Somebody kill him.
Allegedly, he died of AIDS.
Right.
Allegedly.
But it seemed like you have a true working knowledge of this hip hop culture. I have a working knowledge, but you have a true deeper working knowledge, it appears. What through what you have studied, researched, or came across, and this is just a sidebar and we get back to it. What did you discover happened to Eazy-E?
A lot of funny things happened with Eazy-E. Let's talk about when he met with George Bush. According to the story, read the Vibe History of Hip Hop. I got it on the floor, but I don't feel like reaching for it right now. Well, let me do it. So I have my sources.
I never had dinner with the president. I never had dinner with the president.
Vibe History of Hip Hop. Now,
woo!
According to the legend, he accidentally, or he got a chance to have lunch with George Bush, and George Bush didn't know who he was. So according to the story, he just paid $1,500, as donated $1,500, and just walked in past security. He's already making records. This is already after Straight Outta Compton. George Bush security had no idea. This is after police. According to the legend, he walked into a lunch with the president of the United States and nobody knew who he was. Didn't make sense then, doesn't make sense now. You've already documented as being most wanted by the FBI for after police, but you're having lunch for the president with the president of the United States, and Secret Service didn't know who you was. But that's what they feed our people because they don't think we read. Now, you've had lunch with the president. According to legend, he died of AIDS. But if you watch the documentary, he came down with AIDS so fast, and it went from him not having symptoms to him dying. People ask, how could that happen? Now, a lot of people point to Suge Knight was on a talk show, and they were talking about how you kill people. And Suge Knight made the comment that now you don't have to shoot people. You can just give them a shot in the arm. And then he said Eazy-E and started laughing. None of that makes sense, brother. Now people die, and then you can say, well, Eazy-E, you know, his wives allegedly didn't have, you know, and children didn't have AIDS or HIV, but none of that makes sense. But if you want to trace it back, trace the controversy all the way back to when he had lunch with the president. You know what kind of realm you got to be to sit down with the president of the United States? That doesn't happen by accident. You're not going to pay. You're telling me I could have paid $1,500.
And nobody know you. No
and
background, no nothing.
And I just walk and have lunch with the president. No. We have to dig deeper. But see, they want to blame everything on gangster rap, so we won't look any deeper. But that goes back to that quote I just read from Jerry Heller, it all makes sense. So to answer your question, Grand Sheik, how did he die? Nobody really knows. All I say is they say AIDS, but a lot of people say, especially, I'll tell you who gives the best interviews about that. One of the Bones from Rugged Bone Thugs and Harmony. He's talked about that extensively.
I gotta check that out. Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
my
crazy.
era right there.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
my
Crazy Bone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my era right there. Now back to this this if Jerry Heller
Mhm.
was a part of the conspiracy, him and Eazy, knowingly or unknowingly, willingly or unwillingly, um, how does that bring us to the Suge Knights, the Puff Daddies, um, the Pharrells, the on and on and on and on?
Okay. To answer that question, let me tell you why it stopped in 1992. Now, there's something called the hip hop conspiracy. Now, I don't know who came up with it first, but I'll say I wrote about it and put in an article in the Final Call back in 2000. So I'm not going to get into a debate who came up with the hip hop conspiracy first, but yeah, research it. But anyway, there's a conspiracy that says that in 1992, when the acquittal of the officers that beat Rodney King came out, there is a conspiracy that says that's when the government really got rid of all positive rap, because NWA came out in 89 and 90, around that era. And you had gangster rap, but you also had conscious rap up until 92. They were on tour together. So you would have the gangster rappers go on tour with Public Enemy and the rest of them. It was diverse. But in 1992, after the acquittal of the officers that beat Rodney King, there is a I won't say conspiracy theory. There's a theory that says at that point, the government cranked it up and said, look, they're about to raise a Black Messiah for real. We're going to totally wipe out conscious rap, and we're going to replace it with gangster rap. And gangster rap has dominated since 1992. Now, there have been a couple of glimpses of brilliance. Goody Mob, Razkaz, and a few others. But for the most part, gangster rap, the Southern hip hop, and all that has dominated since 1992. Another thing happened. Sister Soldier, during that same period of 1992, she was at a Jesse Jackson program, Rainbow Coalition program, Jesse Jackson. And she said that, why don't Black people take a weekend off and kill white people? Sister Soldier said this. She said that Black people kill Black people. Let me get it right. She said Black people kill Black people all week long. What would happen if Black people took a weekend off and kill white people? She was just making an analogy. She wasn't telling Black people to go out and kill Black people. She was just making an analogy, which was given to us by Dr. Bobby E. Wright, the psychopathic racial personality. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, he talked about it in his book. See, once again, you have our artists getting in trouble for quoting our legends. See, people have died. That's why I'm so particular about the conscious community. People have died and suffered for this, man. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, others have died for this information to come forward. So when Sister Soldier said that, Bill Clinton chastised her, demonized her. She lost her record deal. That's why she's making books today, because when Bill Clinton chastised her, that destroyed her career. That's why she only had one album. I think it was called 360 Degrees of Knowledge. After that, nobody wanted to deal with her. So 10 years later, 10 years later, she started writing books. No more music. And that, among other things, is when you had the fall of conscious hip hop and the dominance of the gangster version.
Hey, brother, let me ask you, who have you shared this with outside? I know you was on Fox News. I know you wrote for the Final Call. Is there anyone in you? I think you wrote for the Source too, right? Did some writing for the Source? Well, okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that. Have had any conversation with those in the inner circles of hip hop concerning this?
Yes.
Are you able to name names?
No. I will say, I will say this, brother, and some of it is documented. My hip hop writer name was Truth Minister with an A. So if you look up Truth Minister Paul Scott, all my articles I've written for the last 15 years at least will pop up. I don't know if the archives go back 20 years on the internet, at least the last 15 years. But I'll put it this way, brother. I do have friends who were conscious artists in that era. And the reason they don't come forward is because these people have long memories. Those people who control hip hop, they have long memories. And another thing people don't like to talk about, the music, read this book, Hitman. Hitman is a book about Frederick Gannon, which is one of the best books about the origin of the music industry. It's called Hitman. It talks about how these families own the music industry going way back to the early 1900s. And they also talk about how the mafia was involved in hip hop. And the mafia still, you have those underworld forces, still have people scared to speak out. People know the truth. People know, I'm going to tell you this without mentioning names. When my first article I wrote for the Final Call, I told a well-known hip-hop artist who was in town, I said I was going to put Black power back into hip-hop. We had a side conversation. He said, brother, these rappers know what you're talking about. They're just not going to speak out against it. Because you're talking about life and death. See, you're not talking about just losing a record contract. These people will kill you. Jerry Heller's bodyguard was part of the Mossad, the Israeli Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. Jerry Heller's bodyguard. These people will kill you for speaking the truth. If they can't destroy you, they'll kill you. All these mysterious deaths in hip hop, a lot of them ain't no accident.
Somebody in the comment section was asking about Grandmaster Jay. Grandmaster Jay says that he's a well-known pioneer of hip hop. Grandmaster Jay of the NFAC. Are you familiar with Grandmaster Jay back in the day?
No, sir. There is a video circulating that had him back. I think it was on Rap City. So there's documentation.
Actually, that was what was that? 106 in Park.
Yeah, 106 in Park.
106 in Park. In the background, holding the DJ booth down.
Yeah. So there's that documentation, but other than that, I have no knowledge.
Okay. So, man, if you talk to people in the hip hop industry and they know this, so where do you go from here? What do you do?
It's going to take the people. It's going to take shows like this because I'm revealing stuff tonight that got me kicked off the radio.
What happens when you see like a Cardi B, you see like a Meek Mill, and the likes, I remember Method Man, and I'll catch that point in a second. I remember Method Man said, man, what the heck are these rappers doing to get all of this money in these private jets? We wasn't getting that. So what happens when one becomes conscious of them being a pawn, but unable to replace the finance and the luxuries that they're used to? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you change that type of mentality when one has become comfortable in a certain space just for running their mouth, being witty with it, and selling out shows?
That's when the spiritual side comes. You can't do it in the physical. That's when the spiritual side comes. Yahshua, the black revolutionary Messiah, taught, what profits a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? What profits a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? You can't, the evil people, the devils, they have all the money. They print the money. So it's nothing material you can give them that the devil can't give them. Whichever way you think the devil comes, you ain't going to have enough money. So they have to have the spirituality amongst themselves, upon themselves, in their own heart. In their own heart.
What about?
It's enough.
I'm sorry, my brother. I just want to catch some. I'll be losing thoughts, and I want to catch them real fast, or I'll be misplacing them. But you know, we had my brother Angel Snupnup on the show, and he was in an insane asylum, and he says that he prayed that the devil would take his soul, that he wanted to give his soul to the devil. He said, devil, take me. I'm yours. I can't take this no more. Whatever you want me to do, devil, I will do. I will serve you, devil. Fortunately for him, the devil ain't respond. So he said, heck with that. I'm going to depend on me. But what about the people that choose to sell their soul, and they're so talented and that they continue down this path and continue to make this sort of music popular in our communities? Because some people voluntarily, intentionally sell their soul. It's a sister out of Florida, and I forget her name, but she's a rapper, and she speaks very foul rap. I forget her name off the top of my head, but she teaches the foulest hip hop you want name about sexuality. And she got a video on YouTube. It's gone viral now. She said, I sold my soul to the devil. I shouldn't have signed that contract. I sold it to my devil. Oh, I forget her name though. What about those brothers and sisters that choose to willingly, because they want to get out of poverty, and they choose willingly?
You want to go there, Grand Sheik?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying.
I said you want to. Let's go.
The reason why I'm saying that is because these becomes the most popular of this genre. Somebody said, yeah, Sakina. That's right, man. Y'all listen to hip hop like that, man. We got a hip hop audience in here, man.
Y'all got the smartest audience on.
Man, we got a hip hop. Listen. Most people don't know. They hear me rapping, and this is a pastime for me. I like to have fun with it. But man, I am a student of hip hop, past, present, and future, and I admire some of the talents. Now, some of the content, I'm not so fond of it, but I will listen to admire the principle of the talent. And these are some talented, witty brothers and sisters. The content can get out of here half of the time, but man, I'm so happy and proud of my audience. You know what I mean? They know what's happening. So let's go there. What about those that willingly sell them souls and they become popular and they become the guiding light of hip hop culture? As we see with the Meek Mills, as we see with the Kodak, but don't talk about Kodak. That's my guy right now. You know what I mean? That's my guy. Anybody listen to the song Super Gremlin? If you ain't heard Super Gremlin, I'm gonna do a remake of it. Go check it out. That's Super Gremlin hard. But whatever the case is, and I'm the people's Grand Sheik, man. I gotta relate to the people. But let's go there, Minister Paul Scott. Talk to me.
All right, let's talk about the spiritual side first. Now, when we're talking about the devil, we're not talking about Dante, the character from Dante's Inferno, because not getting into a biblical discussion, but the whole concept of the devil really was taken from the image of the pitchfork was taken from Pan in Greek mythology. It was always also taken from Dante's Inferno. That's that popular image of the devil with the horns on his head and the pitchfork and all that stuff. So let's just say when we say the devil, we're talking about the enemy, the adversary, or to even break it down a little bit more, the higher self versus the lower self. Now, there are a couple of books you can read. One's called The Devil's Disciples, The Truth About Rock by Jeff Godwin. And that talks about Satanism in the rock industry. because a lot of these things, a lot of these people, when you say sold their souls, they have done it literally. But this book, The Devil's Disciples, talks about, we got to remember, hip hop commercially is no different than rock and roll. Same people own it. Same people own it. Now, another good book, and I wrote the last chapter in this book, actually. Professor Griff's book, The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop. I wrote the last chapter. So it also talks about, the selling of souls and other things. But see, what happens is a lot of people, this is one of the oldest books on the Illuminati. This is one of the oldest books on the Illuminati by the introduction by Roy Allen, by the New Age movement. All the conscious people back in the 80s and 90s, this is the book we study. This is the original book about the Illuminati 666. So a lot of people, when they start talking about selling the souls in the music industry, they're talking about the Illuminati. No. The Illuminati was a group of real smart people who believed in science over religion back hundreds of years ago. So that has nothing to do with the music industry. But when they talk about the Illuminati in reference to the hip hop industry, we're just talking about a group of really rich, evil people who would do anything for $1. And that is who they sold the souls to.
So,
That's who they sold their souls to.
So, Minister Paul, there is a literal group of people that has an organized, who has an organized effort to control hip hop and make sure that the content that we are used to on the radio and, as of late, be consistent. There's a group of people that control that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's business, never personal. Like EPMD used to say, business, never personal. We got to take the emotionalism out of it and look at the history. I already brought up the book Hitman, but there's another book about, and this is really about the movie industry, but it's also dealing with Hollywood, because basically you're talking about Warner Brothers and these people who own the movie studios. They're also the same people who own the music industry. This book is called How the Jews Invented Hollywood, an Empire of Their Own by Neil Gabler. I strongly suggest this book along with Hitman, because it would lay the foundation of who has been in control of the images we see today. See, these families who control the movie industry, the entertainment industry, they haven't changed. They just passed it on, the machine, exactly. They just passed it on to their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. So when we're talking about bloodlines, see, when you get into the Illuminati talk, they talk about bloodlines. When you're talking about bloodlines, we're talking about the bloodlines of people who could have controlled the music industry and the images for the last 100 years. Another good book that I don't have right now is Black Dot's book, Hip Hop Uncoded. Black Dot, Hip Hop Uncoded. He goes into that as well.
So when I hear stories like my brother Nori, when I hear stories like my brother Nori, I don't know if you're familiar with the story. He said, he's like, yeah, the Illuminati is real. He was like, he's like, I don't know if the Illuminati is real, but I will tell you this. And I'm paraphrasing, so if I chop it up, please forgive me. He said, I went into a record, I don't want to say studio, office, record company office. And these guys took me in a room and said that they wanted me to push this type of music, and also made something that could have been interpreted as homosexual advances. And he's like, and you could tell that he was careful how he was saying it, but basically that he got out of there and he ain't have a hit record since. Is that something that should be taken lightly, or is that something that you may have heard throughout your research and your writing throughout the years concerning the hip hop industry? Is it that type of pulling to the side, getting the agreement, and now you're going about your way, be gone?
Let's deal with human nature. You're dealing with a bunch of rich white men who got all the money in the world. They can do anything, control people, so they're going to experiment. They've run out of things naturally acceptable to do, so they're going to deal with the supernatural. They're going to deal with the immoral because they can do that. They're bored. They're bored. They got bored with life, so they're going to try anything. So they can find this little niche where they say, well, okay, we're bored. We're going to try Satanism. We're going to try turning black men into homosexuals. It's all possible because they get bored. They have so much money that they run out of things to do, so they start trying anything. Now, have I read, I haven't heard it personally, but have I read about that kind of stuff happening? Yeah, the classic, the proverbial room that people look into when they see all kind of freaky stuff happening in the room. A lot of artists have talked about that. You have that infamous Dave Chappelle, Oprah Winfrey interview.
Yeah,
I'm sure many people have watched. Now, I want to hit on one thing, Grand Sheik, to back up. You said what happens to the artists who reveal the truth. Let's deal with ODB, Old Dirty Bastard. For all intents and purposes, Old Dirty Bastard of the Wu-Tang Clan was very intelligent. He was very intelligent. 5%er, very intelligent. There's a clip you can look at with him and Method Man during the later years of his life. He was talking about the government's trying to kill me. ODB was talking about the government's trying to kill me. So you would say, why would the government try to kill ODB? Read, it's only one book out, and I forget a biography on Old Dirty Bastard. His grandfather or great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, he's of the lineage of the original people who own New York. Old Dirty Bastard is one of the original people. Russell Jones, rest in peace. His grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather on back, was one of the original indigenous people who they say sold New York for $13 worth of beads. So he had that lineage. So in all probability, Old Dirty Bastard owned part of New York because of his lineage. I'll tell you where he says it. Go back and listen to the Wu-Tang Clan song, not Reunited, but Triumph. Go back and listen to Triumph and listen to Old Dirty Bastard's verse. He tells you that about his grandfather. And also read the biography that was put out about 10 years ago about his life. It's in that biography. So you had this brother who was highly intelligent, but he got locked up on a petty charge, a relatively petty charge, and came out of jail. And just like Huey P. Newton, if you read what the Black Panthers said about Huey P. Newton, when they go in jail, they're not the same person they are when they come out of jail. Mind control is real. Mind control is real. Research Timothy Leary, CIA, and drugs. Mind control, Manchurian Candidate, the CIA did things like that, mind control. The Black Panthers there was a study when they start talking about black men are criminals and black men have a criminal gene. There was actually a clinic they were trying to open up in, I think, 1974 in California, when it was alleged that they were going to do experiments on the brains of black people to see why they were criminals. And Huey P. Newton and the Black Panthers shut that down.
Brother, real quick, keep going in a second.
Yes,
Gary Key asks, who wrote the Hitman book, bro, Paul Scott?
Mm-hmm. Hitman was written by Frederick Dannon. And it talks about up until 1980, the Michael Jackson age, who the founding families of the music industry. Now, if we look at who owns the music industry now, there are three major music groups. Universal Music Group, whose CCO is Lucian Grange. I probably pronounced his last name wrong. Sony Music Group, whose CEO is Robert Stringer, and Warner Music Group is owned by Michael Lighton, who's the chairman, and Stephen Cooper, who is the CEO. So you can look at all these other record labels and all these other artists, but the major record labels are owned by those three groups, and all the other groups are just subsidiaries of these three major record labels. And their ownership goes again back to empire of their own.
Bro.
So what I'm saying, Grand Sheik, is none of this is by accident. We look at the rappers of today, and none of this is by accident. They didn't just wake up one morning and say, okay, we're going to make this genocidal music. They were sold an idea. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, in The Psychopathic Racial Personality, there was a false idea of street knowledge. Now, a lot of people know the idea about, I got street knowledge. I got street sense. You know, I'm from the streets. Why did that become popular? It didn't just start in 2000. It didn't just start with NWA. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, whose wife allegedly killed him, another mysterious death, wrote back in 1979 about street sense. He said, one of the most prevailing mental-sidal myths in the Black community is that street sense is positive. What is really being inferred is that whites do not control the streets in the Black community, nor the behavior of Blacks on these streets. This is untrue. Whites have more control, or at least as much control, over brothers and sisters in the streets than over those in universities. Street sense generally prepares Blacks to deal with one another in very destructive ways, and the whites wipe out the winner. The populations of prison, drug programs, and funeral homes verify this reality. Yet Black children in increasingly large numbers are having to choose between two white institutions, the public schools and the public streets. Both will lead to destruction. Dr. Bobby E. Wright wrote that back in 1980. That's where your street knowledge myth came from.
Drop Dr. Khaled. Street knowledge. Now let me ask you, one of my favorite rappers that you talk about street knowledge was Ice Cube. I'm telling you, that was my man. Yeah, man. And he was one of the main ones to propagate what we know to be street knowledge. I think he even had a EP called Street Knowledge, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he was always talking about street knowledge.
About to witness the strength of street knowledge. That's how
he will always drop that. How does that play and fit in?
Okay,
with Ice Cube, because you know what amazed me? Ice Cube went from horny little devil, you better back up, horny little devil, I want to kill Sam, and you know the whole list, to a whole new different makeover. And I always wondered how he go from this to that. I mean, I honor your success. I mean, hey, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I want to ask, what was that all about? Was he a part of the thing that which Jerry Heller was talking about?
Well, at that point, you know, Ice Cube left NWA because of the dispute with Jerry Heller. But let's talk about Ice Cube. Since you brought him up. Remember, Ice Cube used to be down with Dr. Khalid Muhammad.
Yeah.
Dr. Khalid Muhammad was on death certificate.
Yes.
He was in the video to True to the Game. There's a video called True to the Game where Dr. Khaled's actually in the end of the video, and they kidnap a sellout, tie him to a chair, and Dr. Khaled is speaking to him.
Right.
Lecturing him, waking him up. Now, what happened? Ice Cube is real interesting. You know, he started off gangster, then he went conscious. But at the same time he was conscious, he was promoting St. Ives malt liquor to our people.
Right.
We've never dealt with that contradiction. I think even Rakim did a St. Ives commercial. See, a lot of these rappers in the early 90s were contracted with St. Ives malt liquor.
I remember.
And they made all these commercials pumping this poison, liquid genocide to our people. Watch the contracts you sign. See, when you sign, you know you're more, you know the value of a contract. You know what it's
Absolutely.
all about. So we're going to look to y'all to really break down to our people how this ties in with the contracts. They sign, that's what the real selling your soul is. They sign these contracts. So Ice Cube was part of one of the main people, Ghetto Boys, Wu-Tang, all of them signed St. Ives contracts, promoting this poison to our people. So you had all these early contradictions. Now, when Ice Cube broke with Dr. Khalid Muhammad, you notice he started going into the Disney movies. He went back to the gangster thing. So the question was, and I still have this question, I don't know, which one was the real Ice Cube and which one was the pretend Ice Cube? Was Ice Cube the guy you see in Are We There Yet? Is he the guy in the barbershop movies? Is he the gangster? Is he the West Side Connection, who was one of the people responsible for bringing Crip walking, making it popular across the country with WC and the West Side Connection? Or was he the brother who was down with the Bomb Squad, who were the same producers that produced Public Enemy? Will the real Ice Cube please stand up? I still don't have the answer. But we mentioned Dr. Khalid. I got a question. Sidebar. If I could, Grand Sheik. Sidebar. Dr. Khalid was a speaker, right? He was a lecturer, a scholar. He was not a hip-hop artist, right? Why did the hip-hop police follow Dr. Khalid the same way they were following rappers? That goes back. Read this book, Notorious C.O.P. by Derek Parker. It talks about how the hip-hop police trailed Dr. Khalid Muhammad. That goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the program about the rise of a Black Messiah. They don't know, they know the Black Messiah is coming from somewhere, so they'll treat Dr. Khalid Muhammad as a threat, and they'll also treat the rappers as the same threat. And they have surveillance on both of them. They have surveillance on the Bloods, they have surveillance on the Crips, and they have surveillance on the Black Panther Party. They don't make the distinction. Anybody who could be a possible Black Messiah, they would do anything to prevent the rise. That's why you see them trailing and putting surveillance on Black leaders as well as gangster rappers.
Are you? Go ahead, brother. No. Finish your thought.
I'm just saying, Prodigy, who mysteriously died from Mobb Deep, he used to talk about that.
He said the Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. What war was he talking about? And then he died mysteriously. Supposedly he choked on an egg.
Did you? Are you familiar? I know this is unbelievable. Are you familiar with Dr. Khalid calling out Ice Cube as a sellout?
Yeah, Ice Cube melted. I've seen the video.
Yeah. Do you think Dr. Khalid was too controversial for Ice Cube? Ice Cube, I can't say that. Ice Cube was super controversial. What I'm still trying to get past the transition of that Ice Cube and Dr. Khaled to nothing today.
Research why Ice Cube broke up with Lynch Mob. And that's all I say about that.
And I'm not even familiar with that, so I guess I do have to research that. I'm not familiar with that. I just know 1 minute it was Lynch Mob, and next minute it was WC and Ice Cube and West Side Connection. I guess that's what it was.
I think at some point, once again, going back to the book Hitman, you're talking about the underground. You're talking about people who will make you an offer you can't refuse. Everybody doesn't want to be a martyr, brother. You know, Dr. Khaled, there's an infamous clip. If you look closely, you see Dr. Khaled and Tupac. Go back and look at the clip if you can find it, of the Indiana Black Expo back in '93. Dr. Khaled is actually hugging Tupac. You know, in a brotherly embrace. Let me be clear, in a brotherly embrace, and they were on the same panel.
Brother, you make me feel like we surrounded by those who can at any time pounce. You know what I'm saying? Like say for instance, we're talking about hip hop now, but you know, and I agree with you, you know, no matter where the strong brother or sister come up, you know what I mean, you become all eyes on you, as Pac said. But the way that you illustrate this is that we are surrounded. And you know, I do a lot of shows exposing those that are disingenuous in our community, those that scam in our community. And one of the motivations is that my theory is if we can correct ourselves, the outsider could never penetrate.
I agree.
That's my theory. You know what I mean? The outsider could never penetrate because for over 4,000, 6,000 years, the race is European, the race is Jew, the race is person out of Europe have demonstrated what they're going to do. Like there is no question about that. We have like 4,000 years plus of evidence. Like we be talking about, 200 years. No, we got 4,000 years of evidence. History has been recorded. You know, when you look at the walls of ancient Egypt, you'll see the light olive or possibly European with the hand in the hair, and they got the. When you talk about when the Rome conquered North Africa, this is way before the Moors went into Spain. I'm talking about they conquered the whole North Africa, you know, way before the Arabs entered into Egypt, the Pale Arab. Like there was Romans up in there doing their thing. And the crazy thing about it is the evidence is clear of the potential and the intentions. And today it is so intellectualized. Today it is hidden with a smile behind a keyboard, hidden with our face on the music, hidden with our face on fake products. You know, the Gucci and all that, I call them fake products because it's the same cotton, it's the same cow leather, it's no different. But marketed and hidden through our face. And we need to address ourselves because we surrounded, bro.
We're surrounded, brother, but let me get metaphysical for a minute. If you look at the allegorically, the story of Elijah, when he was with a young man and the young man was panicking because they were surrounded by the enemy, Elijah said, close your eyes. He said, now open them. And when he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by the army of the Most High. We may be surrounded on the physical, but brother, we ain't surrounded on the spiritual.
And I definitely agree with you. You know, one of my theories is this, brother, if you can indulge me. One of my theories is this. When we talk about, this is one of my theories. This is a serious theory. No matter what you may think about COVID-19, COVID could actually been our friend. Let me tell you one of my theories. The universal creator will seek retribution for you when you're unable to do it for yourself.
Right.
Many of these things that we think would affect us adversely really won't. Some will get sick, even some will die. But the weaker amongst humanity will definitely die. What I'm getting to here is that all of the things that been put out to destroy us, nothing worked.
Right.
We still here. We still dominant across the planet. No matter if they try to separate us and call us Negroes in the United States and call us Jamaicans in Jamaica or call us Canadians in Canada, across the whole diaspora, we outnumber. We outnumber. They haven't been able to do it. And if we had a little bit of confidence in the Creator, just a little bit, and a little bit consciousness of ourselves to make sure that we are in the best type of shape that we can be mentally and physically, COVID could actually be our friend. Because there is a weaker genetic specimen here. And so I agree with you 1000%. But on the physical, when we see this attack, this intellectual attack, because that's what it becomes now. It's an intellectual attack.
Mhm.
How do we combat that? Do we combat that metaphysically, primarily, and then send the message? And I know I'm singing to the choir now, but for our audience, I don't even like to talk like this, man, because I'm right there with you, brother. But I want your take on it. How do we combat that?
You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Most of the revolutionary things in the scripture are talking about revealing the truth. Why do you think they call the book of Revelation Revelation? Why is the final battle between good and evil called Revelation? Because the truth, it means the truth being revealed. Now, regardless of what religion you adapt or what religion you subscribe to, for a better word, it's all about the revelation of truth. What we're doing here tonight, like I said, brother, I hope they don't take this video down, because tonight, this has probably been the most in-depth discussion of hip-hop ever. And this is from someone who's been writing about it for 20 years. The stuff I reveal here tonight, I haven't revealed before. I talked about the Jerry Heller. I used to be on the Russ Paul Morning Show about once a month reading my articles. I talked about the Jerry Heller conspiracy. That was it. So it's going to be revelation of the truth. But like you said, Grand Sheik, and we can go on that way. The higher self versus the lower self. The higher self over the lower self. If Satan, like he did Yeshua, brings you to on top of the mountain and says, if you bow down before me, all this can be yours. Are you within yourself strong enough to say no? Because the victory, I'm getting back to my old Baptist preacher day.
Talk to me, brother.
The victory comes after you tell Satan, get behind me. Then the victory comes.
Right.
But some of us bow down before we get to the victory. Higher self versus lower self.
I tell people all the time, man, I've I've lived a life where at times my entire possessions could fit in a JanSport backpack. I lived a life where my sleeping arrangement was the size of an apartment bathroom, and I was still at peace.
Mhm.
So nobody could ever, it just couldn't happen. It
Isn't that the
just couldn't
concept?
happen.
Isn't that the concept of a poor righteous teacher?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just couldn't happen. And I think people misconstrued that concept in this day and time. They think that a poor righteous teacher is one who live destitute and all that. No, it's no matter what place you are in life, that you are at peace.
Indeed.
No one can buy you out because you're at peace.
And it's not what you're able to, and the scriptures bear witness to this as well. It's not what you get, it's what you're willing to give up. It's that, I'm gonna say that one more time. Rewind, remix, come down selector. It's not what you give, it's what you're willing to sacrifice and give up.
That's right. Man, I wrote that in one of my songs, man. I haven't played it in a while. I say your life is only worth what you're sacrificing.
Mhm.
Come on, people, stop being so trifling.
Mhm.
It's only worth what you're willing to sacrifice.
Sadat X has this song, formerly, well, not formerly, a brand Nubian, has this song about Satan. All my life, Satan tried to get me. And he says that I might not have nothing on the shelf, but I teach you how to save yourself.
So, brother, do you think that the Illuminati, as being something real, do they have what Jesus was called fishermen of men? Do they have scouts? Do they have people that go out looking for the potential next person that can carry on this type of entertainment and degradation of our people?
Going back to the scripture, Satan is going, Satan knows, but he has but a short time. You know, you talk, everything has a beginning and an ending. All civilizations fall eventually. So Satan knows that he has a short time. Of course, the enemy. And when we're talking about Illuminati, let's not get spooky with it.
Oh, yeah.
We're not talking about
Thank you, bro.
Those men back in the 15th century and the Crusades. We ain't talking about them. We're talking about these people I read who own Universal, who own Sony, who own Warner. We're talking about them. We're just using Illuminati for lack of a better word. We're as they say, we're putting it where the goats can get it. We're using Illuminati just because people are familiar with that term. But what we're really talking about is the rich and powerful. I suggest everybody studies Brother Steve Coakley. Study Brother Steve Coakley, because what Brother Steve Coakley did, rest in peace to the brother, he took the mystery out. He said, name the names.
Come on now.
The names. Every devil you're talking about has a name, but it's easy to say the Illuminati. It's easy to say the devil. It's easy to say Satan because people don't name the names. In the scriptures, going to get back to my roots, there's a term called legion.
That's right.
When Yahshua, and y'all know I'm saying Jesus when I say Yahshua, but
yeah, you good, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just in case there's some new people watching, they're like, who's Yahshua? But when he cast, and you can take it allegorical, when he cast the demons out the swine, he said, what is your name? And they said, Legion, because we are many. In all religions I can think of, in all religions, there is a theology that says the way to get power over a devil is to name it. The way you get power over someone evil is to name it. That's why Brother Steve Coakley, shout out to the Bogart. That's why Brother Steve Coakley said, name the names. Once you name the names, you can have power over it. That's why in the scriptures, the Most High would never reveal his name. He told Moses, I am that I am. Or to really break down what he said. I am what's written. I am that I am. I will be what I will be, and I will cause to exist what I would cause to exist. That's the real meaning. But he would never reveal his name because ancient religions, because the Bible was taken from an older religion, which was taken from an older religion, which was taken from an older religion, which was taken from an older religion. And all those religions say the deities don't reveal their true name to people because if you reveal your name, they have power over you. That's why deities don't reveal their true names.
Would you say that our people that express these deities, this for me, I call them out. Does that weaken them?
I'm sorry, rephrase it, brother.
I don't like to get spooky, and I like that you said that. When human beings express the attributes of these deities, and we call them out, well, I'm talking about the real human being. Does the same concept apply?
You talking about when you call out the devil?
Say, for instance,
okay, give me an example.
Joe Blow, hypothetically speaking, then swindle the people. And I say, family, Joe Blow then swindle the people. And here's how. I'm just talking, this is a true story. This is what I do. How does that affect Joe Blow? It seemed to me, I'll wait till you answer. Because when you say you call out the deity name, I'm looking at it from a manifested perspective. Does it work the same on the manifested as the metaphysical?
Brother Steve Coakley used to
if it be fact of what a person is talking. Go ahead.
Brother Steve Coakley always taught us about the riddle of the Sphinx. And everybody who could not, in Greek mythology, it was called the riddle of the Sphinx. Anybody who could not solve the riddle perished, dived off the cliff or whatever. But once you solve the riddle, the Sphinx was defeated. Same principle, brother. Once you solve the riddle, once you put the pieces together, once you reveal the truth, everything, all evil falls apart. It's all about the revelation of truth. Again, going back to the book of Revelation. That's why it's called the book of Revelation.
Why don't we have anybody that's calling out the whole conspiracy within the conscious community? You know what I'm saying? I have my lane. Like, I don't want to be robbed by my own kind. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be robbed by my own kind. I don't want you being robbed by our own kind. You see what I'm saying?
One thing is many
people get mad about, I wanted to say many people get upset about that. You know what I'm saying? However, we don't have anybody in what we call this conscious community calling out anything. Only thing we have is, like, if I say somebody's a swindler, they won't try to prove that they're not a swindler. They say, I'm gonna kill you. They say, look at his mama. Look at his son. Look at his daughter. Look at his grandmama. Look at his dog. But they will not respond to disqualify what has been revealed.
I think the reason is because we've all fallen short of glory. That's first and foremost. But I will name one person that really taught me a lot in the industry. Paradise from X-Clan.
Right.
He taught me a lot. And one of the things, when I first met Paradise, he called me on the phone out of the blue as an elder. You know, he's not, Paradise really isn't all that old. But as an elder, he's a little bit older than me. I'm 54. But Paradise is a little bit older than me. But having experience in the industry, I see him as an elder. He called me one day because that was when I was like going hard on hip hop. I'm talking about early 2000. E-Dog can bear witness to this. If he's still in chat, E-Dog can bear witness to it. But I used to go hard on hip hop and I want to expose them all. And they all selling out. Paradise called me one day. He said, brother, whatever you do, do it out of love. And I had to change my whole thinking. Whatever you do it out of love. Even when I do out there on the streets, trying to stop our brothers from killing each other, trying to stop the self-inflicted genocide of our people. I always go back to what Paradise told me. Do it, whatever you do, when you correct somebody, do it out of love. Because if you do it out of love, you can always have reconciliation. If I go off on a rapper, it's nothing personal. That's why, even though, look at my history, I've exposed many rappers in the last 20 years. A lot of them. But because it was not done in malice, it was done out of love. They didn't take it personal because I wasn't going after them. I was going after one specific behavior. Once that behavior was over, we good.
Can you tell us out your 20 years or better? Can you give us one that went in, bit the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and sold all the way out, that we would be familiar with?
People would say that Jay-Z is the most powerful rapper. I disagree. I think it's Snoop. I'll tell you why.
Snoop serious.
I think it's Snoop. Because if you look at when all this demon work, now you can argue the grave diggers, but the grave diggers were coming from somewhere else. So I'm not going to throw the grave diggers in there. But if you look at when all this Illuminati and devil worship came into hip hop, Snoop brought that in. Where he beat that murder case. And he made that song, Murder Was the Case That They Gave Me. In the video, the devil raises from the dead. Hip hop was never the same. So if you want me to name one person, even though he on the surface does good things, who's responsible for bringing all that negative energy, whichever way you want to call it, into hip hop, I would point to Snoop.
So you would say, and now listen, when I look at Snoop, I'm telling you, there is not. If you go down the street in Baltimore on Route 40, which is a pretty busy little road, it's called Baltimore National Pike, and it's a little liquor store there, and out front there's a little sign of Snoop holding a Corona.
Right. He's done Corona.
He's everywhere.
He's done Corona. He's done St. Ives. He's done Coke 45 Blast. He's done them all. Why do they love him so much?
He didn't. I mean, that's just something small. I mean, he's done everything. Martha Stewart. I mean, everything.
Why is that?
How does one get that kind of access?
How did he? I mean, and how did I do think there's something. I don't really go into the spookism of blood rituals, and I don't go into the spookism, but I do think that the powers that be look for a certain character trait. I think they do look back in your history and say, okay, your ritual was you kill somebody. That's why all the rappers talk about, well, I got this many bodies. I think that's part of the ritual. There's nothing spooky about it. I think that's one of the rituals they use. How many bodies you got? Suge Knight brought that out. He said, how do you get busted on a murder rap and not spend a day in jail? How did your lawyer, what was his name? Was it David Kerner, if I'm not mistaken? Kenner, I think that was his name. Kenner. How did he go from being a lawyer to be one of the major owners of Death Row? What role did Ted, and on the same note, what role did Ted Fields, who's from the family who owns Field Department Store in Chicago, how did he get into Death Row? How did Edgar Brofman, Edgar Brofman, who the wine guy, Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler, how did he get into hip hop? See how it's connected, brother?
Can you name one person you I think it was my brother in the gas asked. Name one person that you exposed. That's so it say. Name somebody you exposed. My brother in the gas. Shout out to the guy.
One person? Wow. And you know, the thing about me is I'm a real person. Everything you can document, Truth Minister hip hop. I mean, some of everybody. We had a group that we put together back in about 10 years ago. We called it the Militant Mind Militia. And what we did was we got some of the scholars together. We got scholars together, we got activists. And we said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to correct what's wrong in hip hop. This is about 10 years ago. So for a whole year, every time they would step out of order, we would correct it. So that group, I'll give you that 10-year period. Juicy J, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, because you know they were disrespecting the culture. Lil Wayne said something about gonna whip it like Emmett Till. Part of my movement addressed that. When Rick Ross said something about putting Molly in a girl's drink, date rape, figuratively speaking, putting Molly in a girl's drink. That was part of my movement, the Militant Mind movement. I was in on that phone call the night people said, how we gonna handle this situation? I was in that phone call. So there are a lot of ways. But if you Google me, Truth Minister Paul Scott, yeah, all of that'll come up. So I ain't capping up here. I ain't got to tell you what I can't prove. It's all public knowledge. But again, it was never personal. It was done for a specific reason, for a specific intent. So that's why people really didn't take it personal. Because really, if you do wrong, and I think Grand Sheik, you talked about this. If you do wrong, you know in your soul you did wrong.
Absolutely.
So you ain't but so mad when people call you out on, what you did was wrong. But the thing is, when you point it out, are you doing it out of love?
Are you doing it out of love or malice?
Yeah. Are you doing it out of love for the person and love for your people?
Right.
Have some people sold their soul so much there ain't no coming back? I don't know. I don't know if a mankind ever reaches that point that he's beyond redemption. Some people are darn close though. But I think there's always that spark in triple stage darkness, like Rakim would say.
But would you consider that some people is just who they are and they're comfortable who they are and it is what it is?
Everybody has their time, brother.
But I'm just saying. But
what I'm saying,
I from a Moorish
everything you do, there's consequences.
Let me say this from a Moorish perspective. We believe and have confidence and faith in that man returns over and over until he reached the state of perfectness. You know what I'm saying? So he unfolds. And one lifetime is not enough time to do that. There is no hell in the ground. There is no heaven above. You're going to unfold. You're going to it takes time to happen. And so in this lifetime, could it be possible from where you said that some people are so comfortable in that it's become a norm? I remember I wrote a song years ago, and in the song I say I'm living wrong so long I'm thinking wrong. I was living wrong so long I'm thinking wrong is right. You know what I'm saying? Where you're conditioned, that you have conditioned your mind to live in a certain space, and now it becomes the norm. And the elders would say misery is bliss. Do you think that some people will just be there?
I think that if we're going to use that example, and I think it's saying if somebody's just beyond redemption, as the scriptures say, the son of perdition. I think we have to look. I wouldn't look at black people for that. I would look at the Rothschilds and those.
Yeah, I'm speaking of anybody in general.
Yeah, but I would say if you're really looking at those who have that much power, that they've actually made a pact that they ain't changing, and they have a vested in, they really made a deal with the so-called core negativity. I would look with people way above the pay grade of rappers. You know, Andre 3000, he said as much evil. He has a song called I'm not as young as I used to be. Black Ice. I think it was on Black Ice with Goody Mob. And the most important word, I think it went over a lot of people's head. When we criticize black people, other African people, melanated people, as they say, for their wrongdoing, Andre 3000 said, no matter how we criticize black people, in that song he said, there are lower levels we can go. Take people of the sun, put them in the land of snow. He was talking about as evil as we think the most gangster is.
That's right.
There are lower levels we can go. Take people of the sun, put them in the land of snow. Rappers ain't doing that, brother.
Oh, no. You know, the Europeans have stuck up the world without a gun.
Yeah.
Sometimes they used it, but they stuck up the world without a gun. This is a fact. And they have done such a fascinating job that now many of our people do the work for them. They got it on autopilot now.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about tonight. You know what I'm
and
saying?
that goes back to Carter G. Woodson's miseducation of the Negro. If you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. Also, Dr. Bobby E. Wright, who again in the psychopathic racial personality, he called it menticide. Menticide. Yeah.
So brother, before we get out of here, because I got to bring you back, I think we got to do a couple. Let me ask you: Would you like to come on here and discuss some of the current state of hip hop? I think Moorish World TV need to get into that space of what's going on in hip hop, because hip hop is one of my favorite genre of music. I like different genres of music, but hip hop is, man, and I'm a fan of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, but I can look at hip hop as a movie. You know what I'm saying? I can look at it, but you know, the younger generation take it as a reality. And so we got younger brothers in Jacksonville, Florida. Man, that stuff, that talk they doing. You know what I'm saying? They talk about killing something. They ain't Rick Ross in it now. They actually gonna kill something. You have brothers in what is that? In Chicago. Like they ain't Rick Ross in that thing. You know what I mean? Talking about they got money coming off the boat and all that. No, they really about that work. You know what I mean? So the point that I'm making is I think this is a valuable conversation, but at the end of the conversation, I think we always need to underscore what I'm about to say now. What is the solution in addressing these issues?
I'm glad you asked that, Grand Sheik. Next week begins Black History Month, and we're starting a campaign called Snatch Back the Black. Snatch Back the Black. Tonight was the premiere of what we're trying to move all month, where we reclaim our culture. We got to first be honest about what we did here tonight. Now, again, I think this is the most empowering show about hip hop that's been done possibly ever. We laid the foundation. This is a show, Grand Sheik, and I'm giving honest to you. There was no cursing. There was no arguing. Every grandparent who's listening tonight can take this show and let their children listen to it. They can see some shows, no matter how conscious it is, you can't let your children listen to it because it's profanity, there's cussing. Everybody listening tonight can let your children and your grandchildren sit down and study this video. So that's the solution, revealing the truth. The truth will make you free. But yeah, for Black History Month, let us join together, snatch back the black, snatch back our culture, get back to the essence. If we're in the conscious community, let's go back to where we got it from. Let's fast forward, nope, scratch. Let's jump back before the YouTube madness. Let's get back to the elders. Let's get back to Dr. John Henry Clark. Let's get back to Dr. Francis
I
Crispin.
wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, let's get back to Marcus Garvey. Let's get back to Malcolm X. Let's get back to Chancellor Williams. Let's get back to the master teachers that really brought the consciousness before YouTube, the Kwame Tures and Ashaka Musabera Shangos, the Asa Hilliards, and all. Let's go back to that and let that be the starting point. And all our actions, brother, weigh it against that. And that will straighten everything.
Now the question is,
Mhm.
where is our Dr. Henry Clark? Where is our Francis? Where are they?
Dr. John Henry Clark told us one thing, Grand Sheik, as we wind up. This is my favorite part of Dr. John Henry Clark's speeches, because he would talk and talk for 2 hours, but he would give a story at the end. He said that if you want to find that leader, look in the mirror and say, you and I have changed, have chosen to change the world, and we choose to do it now. The
Absolutely.
leader we're looking for is looking dead right at you in the mirror. That's the only leader you need to be concerned about. When you wake up in the morning, the man looking, or man or woman looking back at you in the mirror. That's the only leader you need to be concerned about. Everybody else will let you down. The only person you have any control over is self. And like you said, Grand Sheik, and this is a good way to end it up. If you can control self, you can control the world.
100. Brother, but I got to ask you my final question.
Yes, sir.
And then you got to make time once a week to come on here, brother, at least for an hour. Can we do an hour once a week?
Brother, anytime you want to talk about
Because
what we're talking about,
what I want to talk about is I want to get into some of the mentalities of a Cardi B.
Mhm.
I want to get into some of the mentalities of
Have you seen how
Hendrix.
Tasha K is exposing the whole industry, attacking Cardi B? But she, in her video she released last night, she started attacking the whole industry. The whole
Tasha
rap
K?
industry. Yeah, that's heavy, man. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
So listen, we're gonna be talking about that next week. Matter of fact, this is what I wrote down. And I just put some X's for the bullet points. I wrote down. You ain't know what I was writing here.
No, sir.
So next week, if you're available next Thursday, I'm going to do my homework. 9:30. In fact, it might be. I would love to do it at 7:30 because I think next week I'm gonna be in the studio, and I want to drop this. I want to drop the show down to 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Because I want everybody to get this message. And a lot of my brothers, especially in the Moorish side tip of America, they say, Grand Sheik, I can't stay up with you that late. I gotta get up in the morning. And so I feel that a lot of other people, because a lot of the other views come after the show. You see what I'm saying? And so what I want to do is give the people the ability to at least catch a good hour of the show. And so if I do it 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, it beats 9:30, jumping into 10 o'clock and all of that. And so today I thought I would be in the studio today, but for some reason, the internet guy didn't show up. The cable company didn't show up to get my line. And I don't want to do Wi-Fi. I need hard stream so we don't get no interruptions. So, bro, if you are able to have that conversation with me, I think that's a heavy conversation. I've been peeking into the conversation, but what you just told me has inspired me to look into it a little bit deeper. And I'm going to come with the hard questions so we can really make sense out of this whole situation. You know what I mean? If you're interested.
Yes, sir. I mean, anytime I get a chance to come on a platform around positive people, I'm honored, brother.
And another thing I would like to do is I would like you to tell us where we can find you if you're not on Moorish World TV.
Mhm. All my social media is under Black Messiah Movement. That's the name of the movement, Black Messiah Movement. IG, Black Messiah Movement. YouTube, Black Messiah Movement. Now, the video you showed earlier was from almost 20 years ago.
You've been
Yes.
grinding, brother.
Yeah, that was 15, 20 years ago, that video you showed
You ain't
earlier.
had no debates on 125th?
Oh, wait a minute. We did have and this is on YouTube too. We did have a debate in Harlem, a great debate. Was hip hop good for black people? Dr. Ben was there. The Last Pose was there.
Nah, I'm not talking about that.
oh.
I'm talking about the bodega stuff.
Oh, nah, bro. I'm in North Carolina. Bro.
I'm just messing with you. You ain't qualified to be here if you ain't been a bodega scholar.
That's
Nah,
that's what they tell me.
I'm just messing with you. Let me not start trouble. But no, brother, I really appreciate that, man. And I would like you to be my exclusive guest so you can walk us through this hip hop, brother.
Yeah.
For
What I
real.
really want to get to what we did tonight, Grand Sheik, we laid a strong foundation.
That's why I want to keep it going, brother.
Yes, sir.
I want to keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Listen, this is what I want to do for this platform. And if anybody is on taharkabay.com, the reason why I just uploaded a video on taharkabay.com on the exclusive, but the reason why I want to do this is because I think we should, the positive people, thank you, Brother Southpaw, and everybody who hit the $ thing, but I think we got enough foolishness out there.
Right.
The only way we're going to be able to combat that when it relates to information is we have got to balance it with the real information, with the positive information. I mean, listen, you tell a truth that make a person squirm if they're guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I tell a truth that make a person squirm if they're guilty, or even if they concerned about being guilty, it make them squirm. But also it's the hard truth that changes lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's the real hard truth that changes lives. So I just think we need to go and keep this going. And the point that I'm making is on taharkabay.com, as I go back on it in the next few days, you have the ability to create your own platform on there. I need to educate myself on it a little bit more, but you have the ability to create your own platform. Like Minister Paul Scott can have his own platform, his own channel, put up his own videos, put up his own thing, and it's free. It don't cost nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we're going to be working towards in the spring. I just need to educate myself on it. I know my brother Sean got something there. I know my sister May the Alchemist have a channel there. Cryptonomics just put up something there and he wasn't even making a channel and got subscribers there. And so I think that we need to come together as a collective to balance the madness and then bring the madness to an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me? And so even here on YouTube, most of what YouTube has come to, and it saddens me that people will put me in the same rank, that I'm just sitting up here gossiping and something like that. No, I'm going to bring you receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt after receipt so you can disprove the receipts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, people will put me in a line with gossip. I don't care. That's it. But it saddens me that we don't even look at the receipts. We don't even pay attention to the receipts. But what you are bringing to the table is something that's needed. And so that's why I want to bring you to the show on a consistent basis, if that's possible.
I appreciate you, brother. Anything that's going to save the lives of these babies out here who are being gunned down in the streets across this country and across the world, really, I'm all for it, brother. So I appreciate it.
And I like you don't got a poop mouth. Because I don't believe that we need to articulate ourselves with poop coming out of our mouth.
No.
It just don't look good. That's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? But this is Minister Paul Scott. We're going to have him back next week. And I'm going to say 7:30, bro. Are you able to make it at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time?
Yes, sir.
I think it's going to be 7:30 because the people are coming back tomorrow. And I done already paid them. So they better have my Ethernet cord lined up and ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to say 7:30. I got it written down. I'm actually going to make the flyer tomorrow, and I'm going to have it up all week. Share it to your platform. Anybody in the chat, share it to your platform. We're going to have it up all week. And I'm going to start having shows up all week, advertised, because YouTube love to play with the algorithm.
Mhm.
They love to play with it. And so we got to go in advance on it. Thank you, my brother Javon Muhammad. Also, family, I got a homeboy that has been on some of these platforms talking about his experience with Tupac. He got some people coming at him. So I'm going to reach out to him and get him on here too. I think it's hip hop is controlling the world, whether we know it or not.
Mhm.
And as it relates to culture,
Mhm.
even if it's negative, hip hop is on top of it.
Right.
It is what it is. So, brother, anything you like to say in closing? And again, don't forget to mention your social media.
Right. My social media, YouTube, except for Twitter. Twitter's under Truth Minister with an A. But just Google me if you want to find out anything. Google Minister Paul Scott, Durham, North Carolina, or Truth Minister. If you want to find my hip hop work, Google Truth Minister Paul Scott. But everything else is on the Black Messiah movement, and it's always Grand Sheik. I appreciate this platform, brother. I think we did a lot of good tonight, and I hope the parents will share these with their teenage children, save some lives out there. And as always, we leave with the Black Messiah motto: stop waiting for a savior and be one. Shalom.
Shalom. Peace, bro. Peace, peace, peace. So with that being said, family, I think that was listen, this is where I want to take the platform. I'm going to tell you off the top. This is where I want to take the platform. People are going to continue. I said this before. I think we have beaten these crooks down so much that they hesitant to be a crook right now. Ashe? You hear what I said? We beating down the crooks and the scammers and the schemers so bad that who's crooking right now? I mean, what more is it to talk about? So every time one that show their head, we'll deal with it, but like Ashe, Islam, praise the Lord, namaste. Shout out to my sis over there with man, I had to mess my whole self up. That was funny. Oh, my sis, I'm gonna get a name now, man. I'm tripping. Ashe. But yeah, so we're gonna bring this on, family. On Saturday, I'm gonna try to bring my brother. I'm gonna try to be in the studio on Saturday, but that's gonna be 9:30. Saturday, I gotta do 9:30. I got too many things to do. Vicky Dillon, there you go. My sister. Shout out to my beautiful sister, Vicky Dillon. That's right. Love you, Vicky Dillon. Love what you're doing over there. I'm taking some pointers from you so I can be successful like you one day. Shout out to Vicky. Free the land, beloved. That's right. That's right, man. Free the land, beloved. She say that, don't she? That's right. Free the land, beloved. Ashe. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to Vicky Dillon. Let's go. That's right. That's right. That's right. If you're a friend of Vicky, you're a friend of mine. I just mess with y'all, man. That's my sister, man. Hey, y'all can say with y'all what, man? That sister, she keep it 100. She keep it a buck. She keep it a buck. I like her. All right. My sister. With that being said, family, we're going to try to have Angel Snup Nup again on Saturday. And last but not least, on Sunday, family, on Sunday, we're going to be talking about, we're going to give you some raw updates. I'm going to actually put this up tomorrow also so we can get a head start on the advertising that on Sunday, we're going to be updates of ozone. All right. We're going to have updates of ozone. We're going to have real updates. We're going to be looking at what he's up against as it relates to the opposition. We won't be going into the details of any type of defense. We won't be going into the details of what he's charged with, why he's charged with this. We're not going into any of that. We're going to go into the updates about his attorney. We're going to go into the updates about those who accused him. But we're not going into any updates about his case, because I think it would be best that his attorneys handle that. He's facing the death penalty, and it's only right that we get a thorough update. And what I'll do is, and I was going to do it today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some research to take you all the way back, and I'm going to bring it all the way up. And I'm going to give you all new information within the after the first 30 minutes after I give you the updates. I mean, after I take you back and bring you back up. You know what I'm saying? Somebody asked, what about Spite? I will reach out to Spite wife, and I'll also do an update on that next week also. I'll reach out to his wife tomorrow. I'll send her an email, and I'll reach out to her. But I don't really like to touch these cases and talk about their defense, and people in the comment section talking reckless about their defense. I say we leave that up to the attorney. Somebody says, so is Ozone a messiah now? I mean, to somebody, maybe to his children. I don't know. But with that being said, family, I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate y'all for supporting the channel. I appreciate all are supporting TaharkaBay.com. We're going to be picking up on the live streams on there. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to go live stream from my phone so I can be out and about, and I can update you on some up-to-the-minute real stuff in the trenches, because I am in the trenches, and I'm going to update you on some real stuff. I think I'm going to do some on-the-spot interviews with some real stuff that goes on in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm talking about some real stuff goes on in the community. But I will highlight that on TaharkaBay.com. Coming soon. I'm just trying to get my internet right at the demonstration. You feel me? But with that being said, shout out to my brother Neil Bay, who gave me the best drop. Of the year. Ain't that the best part of the drop? Let me do it again.
He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson.
That's the best part of the drop. Dynamite Lightning. That's the best part of the drop. He's so serious. He's so sincere. Shout out to Neil Bay.
He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson.
That's the best drop, man. That's the best drop. That's the best intro in history. That's my man. Let's get it.
He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson. I call for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson and anybody who's riding with him with this scandal with these videos of me and my wife riding the people.
Check it.
I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with Daweed Ali and them.
See, in the Raw video that I'm going to do on part 2, he said, all I sold my people was crack. I said, what? Hold on. All I sold my people was crack. I said, why you say that? Hold on. You give me too much information. Stop. Please. Don't. No. Get out my pocket. All I sold my people was crack. I'm like, man, you ain't have to say all that, man. Stop. Get out of here. Oh my goodness, let me rewind. I got to do it one more time.
He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson.
All right, this last time. All I sold my people was crack. Like, what? Shut up. Stop it.
He says Taharka Bay, Toronto Johnson. I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson and anybody who's riding with him with this scandal with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
Check it.
I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with Daweed Ali and them and Taj and them used to come to Chicago.
I laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. Sleepwalking, they keep talking. I probably catch a charge and I don't care what any say. Nobody. Yeah, I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik ain't seen a man I can't beat. Only the gods is my equal. You mortals, you just my sequel. You just my sequel. What the 85ers? Dip divers? Trying to symbolize us? You already dead. Who done got up in your head? Rent free. You wanna know who sent me? Who sent you? Leg, head. I tried to pull you out the bed, but you got up all groggy. Started talking real crazy, eyes foggy. Couldn't see through the fog. Then I had to bring the dogs, barking all up in your ear, acting like you don't care. Oh, you don't care? Like you don't preserve life. Oh yeah, and you really don't care, right? Oh, you don't care, right? Well, we gon' really check that, bet that, respect that. Since you said you ain't scared to die, blah, blah, blah. I laid them young boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway. I laid them old boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I'm the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. I laid them young boys to rest. They was sleepwalking anyway. I would take you on any day. Michigan, New York, Cali, where you at? What you thought? From that town to Baltimore, everybody on the road is all raw. They ready, choppers. I don't really think you want the problem. Hold up, raise the thought up. Back to a law. Leg, head. I try to get him out the bed. Sleepwalking anyway. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up, keep talking. Sleepwalking anyway. Wake up. I don't care what any say. Nobody. I'm the people's grand sheik, and the people's grand sheik. I ain't seen a man I can't beat. Never. You mortals, you just my sequel. You mortals, you just my sequel. Only equals is the gods. You mortals, that's my sequel.
He says Taharka Bay,
I see
Toronto Johnson.
dead people. Hey,
I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson
I see
and anybody
dead
who's riding
people.
with him with
I
this
laid them old boys to rest. They was dead sleep anyway.
frauding the people. I never saw my brothers and sisters serving these packages when I was with
I
Daweed
laid them
Ali
young
and
boys to rest.
them used to come to
They was
Chicago.
dead sleep anyway. Hey, people's grand sheik. I ain't never met a man that I can't beat. No,
He says Taharka
the
Bay,
gods is my only equal.
Toronto Johnson.
You mortals, you just my sequel. That's it.
I called for a Moorish court on brother Toronto Johnson and anybody who's riding with him with this scandal or with these videos of me and my wife frauding the people.
I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember. I be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. I be that more you gon' remember. I'ma be that more you gon' remember.
remember, that's right. I'll be that more you gon' remember. Taharka Bay front line till the law call my number. If you a friend of the Moors, then you a friend of mine. I was told to watch my enemies, now hold my line. Those that speak against the prophet, they speak against me. And I'm speaking about the prophet over Drew Ali, who was the first to remind you and bind you back to Morocco, the mountains, Mississippi, and Quebec. Told you you wasn't black, proved it with straight facts. You tripping off trucks, you need to be tripping off that. Now here we go again, acting like you a slave. Family, see y'all tonight, 9:30. Let's go.